Hello, I'm Brad Schmidt, Director of Alumni Engagement at Bethel College. Thanks for tuning in. Annually, Bethel College recognizes milestone reunions starting with 10 years after graduation and every 5 years after that. Since we're a bit more spread out this year, we're honoring those milestone reunions with this video presentation. Our Golden Thresher class of 1970, celebrating 50 years since graduation, earned their own video. You can view it by clicking the link below. And now, let's take a look back, starting with the class of 2010, celebrating their 10-year reunion.
The Richard House was fixed up and became the new home of the Agape Center. During interterm, the concert choir traveled to Europe, geology students traveled to Texas and New Mexico, and biology students traveled to Costa Rica. Vincent Harding, a friend of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., joined the campus community for the Martin Luther King Jr. Day to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dr. King's speech in Memorial Hall. Ground was broken for new tennis courts. Forensics and Debate had an extremely successful year, taking a large number of students to nationals in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Students and community members came together to package meal for Numana, a nonprofit funded by alumni Rick McNary, year of 95. The meals went to relief efforts in Haiti after a magnitude 7 earthquake hit the country in January.
Congratulations to the class of 2010. Next up, celebrating 15 years, is the class of 2005.
In an effort to make Bethel College history, 82 students crammed into one room, 7C4, on October 13th. Women's tennis won KCAC championship. A program review resulted in a division and protests, but the yearbook's theme of unity was chosen to show Bethel remains unified in the midst of difference. Interterm trips included Jerusalem Seminar, Guatemala Poverty Seminar, and Europe Math and Science trip. An ice storm in early January damaged several trees on campus and left much of the campus without power for nearly a week. Fans at the Fall Fest football game broke the Guinness World Record for flying discs thrown in the air simultaneously with 853.
All the best to the class of 2005. The class of Y2K is up next, celebrating 20 years.
Construction began on a new residence hall, which will eventually be named Voth Hall. Interterm trips included Jerusalem, Germany, Czech Republic, Belize, Washington, D.C., Chicago, Oklahoma, and Texas. Seniors Jason Fox and Grant Tupper were the Kansas debate champions. Several Peace Club members spent a week eating small rations of rice, beans, and bread as part of a demonstration against economic sanctions imposed on Iraq at the end of the Persian Gulf War. Letter writing and a demonstration in front of Dillon's also happened. Football head coach George Papagiorgio resigned mid-season, leaving assistant Mike Moore to take the lead. The Thresher volleyball team finished the KCAC regular season undefeated and won the KCAC championship title. Women's tennis captured their 9th consecutive KCAC championship.
Congratulations to the class of 2000. This year, the class of 1995 is celebrating a quarter century since graduation.
For the second straight year, Bethel students had the opportunity to open their homes and hearts as hosts to the Interfaith Children's Choir from Denver. Interim trip destinations included Chicago, European capitals, and Washington, D.C. Bethel said farewell to President John Zare and welcome to President-elect Douglas Penner. Women's tennis had a perfect season in KCAC play and won the KCAC championship. Men's tennis had a perfect season in KCAC play and won the KCAC championship for the 6th consecutive year. Baseball returned to Bethel as a club sport.
Roll on, class of 1995. Up next, celebrating 30 years, is the class of 1990.
The Student Concerns movement began as students met in groups to discuss the future of the college and issues such as racism, sexism, accountability, inclusivity, the environment, and Bethel's identity. Around 400 Bethel community members volunteered with Mennonite Disaster Service when a tornado devastated Heston. Students spent interterm in Denver, Chicago, Brownsville, Texas, Washington, D.C., Haiti, Nicaragua, Europe, and Israel. The Bethel radio station KBCU FM 88.1 entered its second year. Smog, student members of Greenpeace, was started on campus, more formally kicking off Bethel's concerns with environmental issues. Students celebrated the release of Nelson Mandela by hanging a banner out of the third-story ad building windows. Several pranks included lawn furniture arranged in a Stonehenge formation on the green, and a snow shower in Crable Auditorium during convocation. Both the men's and women's tennis teams took the KCAC title, the women's for the third consecutive year.
Best wishes to the class of 1990. 35 years ago, the class of 1985 graduated.
A record crowd of over 10,000 came at the Fall Fest. One highlight was launching 4 hot air balloons from the soccer field. Interterm trips included Literary London, Modern Theater in New York City, Urban Issues and Art in Chicago, Rural Development in Mexico, and Moose Habitat Study in Minnesota. Music students celebrated the 300th birthday of Bach with special concerts, a party at the Old Mill, a cafe cantada at Druber's, and a special visit from a New York Chamber Ensemble. The Thresher football team captured the KCAC championship for the first time in 70 years with a 9-0 record and the 3rd place rank in the nation. Ad Building Chapel organ was dedicated.
All the best to the class of 1985. The class of 1980 is celebrating their 40-year reunion.
Folk musician and social activist Pete Seeger visited campus and performed during convocation in Mem Hall. The Fall Fest theme was It's a Small World, and opening convocation featured Interfaith Children's Choir of Denver. SAB hosted Bethel's first Gong Show, a student talent show. Interterm trips were taken to Central America, Mexico, Europe, Russia, and various parts of the U.S.
Congrats, class of 1980. Next up is the class of 1975, celebrating 45 years.
Campus joined in the celebration of 100 years of Mennonites in America during the fall of '74. The Industrial Arts Department acquired a color photography lab. The football team had its first winning record in many years and tied for the second in the KCAC.
Well done, class of 1975. Again, check out the Golden Thresher class of 1970 in their own special video. The link is below. Now, on to the class of 1965, celebrating their 55th class reunion.
Choirs of Bethel and Tabor Colleges, the Newton Civic Chorus, and the Newton Orchestra Association worked together to perform Handel's The Messiah in both Newton and Hillsborough in December with over 200 singers. The Kansas Intercollegiate Debate League Championship went to Bethel in a final round victory over Wichita. Students and faculty spent workday completing improvements to the student union. Students demanded a walkout after a victory over the conference champion Swedes following an otherwise dismal season of football. The Fine Arts Center was under construction.
All the best to the class of 1965. Next up is the class of 1960, celebrating 60 years since graduation.
Women's basketball won all 10 of the intercollegiate games they played. On January 21, 1960, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke in Memorial Hall. He was the second presentation of the Memorial Hall series. The pageant We Are Pilgrims was presented at the annual Mennonite Folk Festival in March. Mem Hall was filled to capacity for both performances in Newton. The pageant went on to tour in Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Manitoba. The Spelman Exchange with Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia was established with the goal of improving relations between various races within our own country. Athletics held the 20th annual Buffalo Barbecue with featured speaker Dick Harp, head basketball coach at KU.
Congrats to the class of 1960. And finally, we honor a special group of graduates, our Heritage class. This special class is made up of graduates who earned their degrees in 1955 or prior. Members of our Heritage class have seen lots of changes at Bethel College. Here are just a few examples.
In 1955, Bethel football finished 3rd in conference play. Also in that year, construction began on the new men's dormitory. The groundbreaking for Goring Hall was September 21, 1954. From 1935 to 1955, the college dairy farm provided fresh milk for the campus community. The dispersal sale held August 9, 1955 included 23 registered Holstein cows, 90 cows and heifers, and 5 other cows in 7 buildings. In 1954, the Wuppertal Exchange Program begins. In 1953, the library, and now MLA, was completed. The Mennonite Singers made a recording each week that broadcast over KFH, a Wichita radio station. They started at 15 minutes but changed to 30-minute recordings in the third quarter of 1953. In 1952, D.C. Whittle was inaugurated as president, and the mile relay track team won their third consecutive conference trophy. In 1950, the Menno-Simmons Lectureship established. Also in 1950, a telephone booth was installed in the student union for the benefit of those wishing privacy during phone calls.
1949, December 6, William Shire, who would later write The Rise and the Fall of the Third Reich, speaks as part of the Memorial Hall series. October 12, 1948, was the 60th anniversary celebration and laying of cornerstone of the library. In 1947, Fran's shop was dedicated. That same year, baseball was reinstated after a 25 years absence. In 1946, after more than 2 years of no intercollegiate athletic competition, Bethel students welcomed back regular intercollegiate competition in basketball, track, and tennis. In 1945, 57% of students were employed by the college, with most of the remaining working off campus. Bethel was one of the first 10 colleges of its size in the United States to have an organized work program. On September 25, 1944, Martin Hall, a lecturer and journalist who escaped Nazi Germany, presented on Youth Under Hitler. October 12, 1943, Dr. P.J. Weedle spoke at the 50th anniversary of the Ad Building, Cornerstone Lane.
Thank you, Heritage class, for your long-standing support of Bethel College. I hope you have enjoyed this look back as we honored our Milestone reunion classes for 2020. We are Threshers.